All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Close. It is a special edition because I am here today with the one and only Crossroads. Roy, what's up?
Not much. Good to be here, Amit. Thanks for inviting me here. Awesome time to be here on a market close. So yeah, this is amazing.
How do you like New Jersey?
First taste of it, because you're here, it's awesome. Riding in the Tesla and everything, checking that out. You've never been here before, but yeah, we'll check it out a little bit tonight.
So Roy is here with me. Tomorrow we have the Robinhood event. And so that event is going to be a very special event that's going to be happening for Investor Day tomorrow. So Roy ended up kind of just coming over. And for those that don't know Roy, I'm sure a lot of you guys know, but here is his Twitter in the chat. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. We got Salesforce earnings, which is going to be very important for the broader market. That is a big company, a company that Roy and I cover gets compared to very often. And that company that we compare to a lot of the SaaS players often is called Palantir. And that thing looks like it's about to close, maybe not exactly above 71, maybe, but definitely above 70. What are your thoughts, Roy, on $70 Palantir?
Yeah, I didn't see this coming. A lot of people thought that myself and yourself were crazy when we were like, hey, this has a lot of promise. It's going to run a long way. This is back when it was like single digits. And this has been a year that, execution has been phenomenal, and the actual stock price and appreciation and just headline after headline, of course, today with that major news as far as the FedRAMP news. So just phenomenal company, phenomenal execution. Exciting times to be a shareholder, and I'm sweating a little bit because I have some covered calls underwater, of course. So
yeah, well, you're not the only one who has some covered calls underwater. Oh, before we get into it, Roy, can you please confirm to everybody the bricks are real?
I mean, you just look at them. It's very, very clear the way that they line up and everything. They have to be real. There's no other explanation. So there you go.
No one can give me shit anymore about the bricks. I have a third objective party that, is flying all the way from Texas just to test out these bricks.
Just for the bricks.
And obviously he says it's real. 328% year to date. Are we overvalued on Palantir?
I don't like the word overvalued. Expensive, yes, very, very expensive. There's a lot of stuff put into that equation as far as if you were to take Palantir out of the equation and what they do, and you just looked at the numbers, which Palantir is a lot more than a number, it's very, very expensive. People argue left and right, but expensive doesn't mean I'm selling, getting rid of Palantir. I'm done with it. It's been a fun ride. I want to be in this company for a long, long time, plan to be. But it's not cheap.
Yeah, I would agree. And look, even though a lot of people are not buying Palantir, I do think there is a lot of excitement and momentum around Palantir. And that excitement and momentum primarily comes from the idea that the institutional investors, it seems like, by the way, Roy's Twitter right there, everybody, so you guys can follow him here. That momentum from the institutional investors does feel like there's a little bit of FOMO. And do you kind of think that's what's happening as well? That people like you and I were buying it at 7, and Ken Griffin of Citadel wants to buy it at 50 because he thinks the story is taken off?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of the piece is that there are not many pure AI plays. If you want exposure, and you can look at, of course, the hyperscalers, but beyond that, are you going to invest as an institution and see through AI? Not many companies probably, and there's a few other startup names, but yeah, Palantir is a unicorn. I think institutions recognize that. I think the S&P 500, I thought it was, a neat thing, a bigger deal than I thought, and it gave a lot of legitimacy probably for future clients as well, but also for institutional investors. And so I think that, there's some retail FOMO, but a lot of it is on the institution side.
Yeah. And, the institutions get excited when you get news like this. So Chad tweeted this today. So today we have the FedRAMP authorization, basically higher level of authorizations for FedRAMP today across Palantir's government products. That was released this morning. And that just means government products like Gotham, Apollo, Foundry can have more integrations into the government. So that's a big deal. My speculation this morning was, hey, people are buying Palantir stock today because they think the government business is going to compound. Then at around 12 p.m. today, you had AWS, which is Amazon's having their reInvent conference today. They partner with Palantir as well. So here's what Akshay said at Palantir. We're excited to integrate Amazon Nova Pro's advanced reasoning capabilities with the ontology system within Palantir's AIP platform, and with the prospect of driving new operational efficiencies and decision-making workflows across 40 industries. This includes powering insurance agents that process complex policy requests, supply chain agents, etc. And what essentially this means is Amazon's coming out with some new foundation models. Those integrations of those models, aka LLMs, are being integrated into AIP. And you got hyperscalers like Amazon reaching out to Palantir saying, hey, how do we make these models worthwhile? And it looks like AIP is the solution for that. So do you also kind of think the hyperscalers have no choice but to say, hey, we are spending a lot of money on these models, but these models don't mean much unless they're operationalized in a meaningful capacity?
Yeah, I mean, it's a meaningful partnership for them, and it's a great thing when you as a business are able to get the big guys to actually scale your business for you. Like you don't have to pay them; you just partner with them, and all of a sudden they benefit because they're hyperscalers. Like the more people are using their commoditized product, the LLMs, which initially, if you remember a couple of years ago, people were criticizing Palantir for, oh, it's not a real AI play because they don't have their own LLM. It's like they were missing it at the time. Now the market realizes it. Now institutions realize it. Hyperscalers realize it as well. And it was I think just last quarter, Microsoft gave a shout out to Palantir in the middle of earnings, which they tend to do. But these partnerships are very meaningful. And the great thing about it is this isn't just like, oh, we have this headline and then we won't get another one of these for 6 months. It's like, man, every single week there's something like this with Palantir. It's amazing.
It's pretty damn exciting. It is pretty damn exciting. Roy is not the plumber. Okay. There was a plumber this morning on the market open and it was making so many sounds. So Roy's not the plumber. He is an amazing stock market analyst. And he's picked some other stocks besides Palantir. Roy, you picked this one as well. Robinhood. It looks like we're going to get our first $38 close in over 3 years, which is the IPO price. Just thoughts on Robinhood's progress this whole year?
I mean, as a company, they're killing it. They're launching products, I think, better than anybody in fintech. The amazing thing is, like, they've run up, a lot. They were trading basically at enterprise value a year and a half ago. And yourself, myself, and several others as well kind of isolated that when the entire market was like, hey, this is crazy to be in this. It's a dumb company. But the phenomenal execution, phenomenal culture, phenomenal leadership. They really impressed me down in Miami. Can't wait to hear what is in store tomorrow with the Investor Day, their first ever. But this is a case where I don't feel like, I'll just say it. I don't think Robinhood is overvalued here. It's not near the still of a deal it was when it was $9, $10, $12 a share. But this company has a long, long way to run, and we'll get a glimpse of that tomorrow. So, this is well-deserved. Of course, SEC, Gary Gensler being out is massive for Robinhood and other plays like it as well. Unicorn. They absolutely are.
Yeah. And what's really exciting about Robinhood as well, we're going to get to see their 10-year vision tomorrow. And that 10-year vision, I think, is going to be pretty damn exciting. Robinhood right here, 38.40, up 2.06%. We got Salesforce after the bell. Any thoughts on Salesforce at all?
I'm not too optimistic on Salesforce. Like the earnings could do whatever. We're in a bull market. They'll probably be fine. I used it in my prior employment at the university every single day, and it was an okay product, but it'll be around for a long, long time. They do buyouts pretty well. They sell products pretty well. I mean, it's right there in their name, but it's just not exciting to me. Doesn't mean you can't do well with it, but I really think that this is a company that builds their model based on that ERP. They're not an ERP per se, but They build their model around that, of companies just saying, hey, get this product, get that product, get that product, versus what Palantir is doing is absolutely disruptive, I think, long-term of those business models.
Yeah, so this is going to be really important for Salesforce, guys. That's the big earnings. We have a couple others, but that's the main one we're going to focus on because Mark Benioff, Salesforce up 30% year to date, has basically rebranded the company, almost like Carp rebranded the company around AIP, around agents. And Agent Force is now the new way that they believe they're going to be able to accelerate massive growth. Salesforce is not a company that grows like crazy. They grow maybe 9 to 10%. They do $40 billion of revenue a year. Palantir's valued half of Salesforce, and Palantir does 2.7. A little bit less. We don't got to talk about that, but nonetheless, I think investors are betting on the excitement of Palantir, whereas Salesforce hasn't been that exciting. However, when Salesforce got to 212, it got pretty exciting to investors, and now it's at 330. So I think I put the pump and dump poll. We got 55% of you saying dump. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think it's going to be a move that's going to be pretty volatile to the upside or down. So maybe it's flat. But I do think investors want to see results. And if they really see results, maybe they take it higher. If they don't see results, they might end up taking it lower on the day.
Yeah, I think with a company in a play like this, AI agents, it takes a little while to actually see that really ramp. And it's something new for businesses, right? So just like even the term AI agent, it began, to really be used in some very large companies like Salesforce last quarter. And I know that some were mentioning it and talking about it, 5, 6, 8 years ago. But it just wasn't mainstream. It wasn't in the consciousness of many businesses. And so they may dip their toe in. But the difficult thing with Salesforce is they have to show that value proposition versus like something with Palantir is like, give us 5 minutes, give us 15 minutes, give us a day. We will demonstrate it with your data right now. AI agents, it's like, okay, I can see the potential, but there's a lot that needs to be worked out. And I think that they'll be fine long term, but yeah, we'll see. I would put myself in the dump category, but I really have no idea with this.
Yeah, this one I'm just not sure of. Someone made a good comment in the chat. Roy, you're gonna have to ring the bell as we ended it. You're gonna have so right when I tell you can ring the bell, go ahead, ring it loud so everyone hears it. Everyone probably got tired of it, including the plumber this morning, because we kept hitting a new milestone on Palantir, so we had to keep bringing it. But today's just one of those days. 71. Can you believe that? Can you actually believe we're looking at this?
It really feels like, just for a lot of reasons, like this is not reality. Like I'm just having this great dream. Nobody wake me up, please. Certainly not. I just want to enjoy this as long as it lasts. But I mean, like, part of it too, it's not just about the stock price. And of course, Palantir is almost half of my portfolio. But it's also about the recognition that this company has, that when we were buying it, like, we were buying it at $7 2 years ago.
Yeah.
$7 freaking dollars. And the market hated it. People mocked us, laughed us, said it was a meme, that it'd never be profitable. And it's a 10x for some people, not for me. You know, my average is in the 12s, but amazing. Amazing times.
It's pretty wild. And, you know, the fact that we've done this as a community, I think, is the biggest thing in the world. I tweeted this just before we got live on the show today. Picture with Roy here. But, you know, I've said this many times, guys. I think the greatest thing we're going to get from Palantir is the friendships that we create along the journey, right? Like, we bought it at 7 as online friends. We're meeting together in person as Palantir hit 70. Palantir is what connected us to even talk about things like Robinhood. And the reason you're here is because you're in that Robinhood event with me. So it's like, I'm just forget the gains. I'm so grateful for the memories that it's created and the ability for us to go on this journey together.
Yeah, it's a cult, man. And it's a good cult to be a part of. And it's one that we've made money in. So it's like a triple win right there. Triple beat.
It is pretty exciting. Do you think we close above 71?
Yes. Yeah, I do.
Okay, we have 3 minutes left. So let's see if we actually do. $70 close, guys. It does seem like it's going to happen. 71.37. I was picking up Roy from the airport, and when I came back, I was like, 71? Like, I was like, I didn't see that, like, because I left for an hour. And yeah, it's just been an absolute incredible run. Robinhood right here, 38.56. Does look like we're going to get that $38 close on Robinhood. Bitcoin, which, Roy, you've been bullish on for a while as well.
Oh, yeah.
95,000. Quick thoughts on if we hit 100K in the next couple months?
I think that we probably do by January. Tends to be that December does quite well with Bitcoin and with crypto as well. So we'll see what happens with that. Lots of institutional buying. Michael Saylor and Mara also doing some crazy things as far as just buying the coin outright, getting all of them out that they can. And it seems like, I think at some point, you know, it seems like it's inevitable, you know, and so it's kind of healthy for the coin itself that it's consolidating here for a bit. It may take weeks, it may take months. But I think when we have a breakout, that there will be some FOMO as well. So I don't think when it breaks out from 100,000, it's just going to sit at like 101, 102 for a few weeks. So exciting times there as well.
Yeah, and you got Meta right here, 614, guys. We talked about this earlier in the morning. Zuckerberg went to meet Trump and basically try to get an advisory role in whatever Trump's tech policies are going to be. And so I think the market's buying up Meta because they're like, all right, Zucks is going to get friendly with the administration. Hopefully that's going to be good for social media companies in general. So I think that's why we're seeing Meta here get a run. Bitcoin right here at 95,000. SMCI down about 4% on the day. It was up 30%. I know you are a little skeptical about SMCI. Down 4% right here. Tesla, again, that judge rejected Elon's pay, only down 1.57%, recovering from about 348 earlier in the day when it dipped, so not too bad. Salesforce is the big one after about 331. All eyes on Palantir. 20 seconds left. We are literally 2 cents away from potentially closing over 71. And we're going to get to see this happen live together.
Hopefully
with all you guys. All right. So, Roy, you can pick up the bell, and I'll give you a countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you can do your thing. All right, folks. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The market is now closed. All right, we got to do it even more than that.
All right. There you go.
Roy was trying to be respectful. He's like, Amit has his parents in the house. They're sleeping. They're not sleeping. But he was just like, well, let me do a little bit of a bell. There we go. $70.96, folks. That bell was also for 71 because we didn't ring the bell for 71. So count that bell as our $71 bell. Up 6.88%, $70.96. That is the highest close on Palantir ever. And we hit a 52-week high today. We're closing at a 52-week high, closing at an all-time high. Absolutely incredible stuff on Palantir, $70.96 on the close. Congratulations. Congratulations, everybody, currently right now. All right, so we got 71 on Palantir, $70.96, 71 currently after hours. Salesforce, that is the one we should all be looking at. That's going to be a big one today. Salesforce right here, we should get their numbers pretty soon. Along with Salesforce, we also have Marvell, Okta, and Pure Storage. Do you have any thoughts on those? Do you know any of those names?
Is Okta the plasma company?
No. Okta is a SaaS company. Oh, Salesforce down. Oh boy.
Yeah,
boy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yes. It's I believe a software company. All right, Salesforce, you got down. You got Salesforce down right here, down 2.6%. There you go. It's a little red. Now it's green. This is the job. Now it's red. Now it's green. We direct traffic and we keep going. Marvell, this is a semiconductor name. We'll get Jose on the show this week to talk a little bit more about that. That one's slightly down after hours. Salesforce, again, it's like teetering between down and then flat. Okta's, whoa, 19%, baby. That's green.
Yeah, they actually back in Chipotle's, some of Chipotle's technology. I remember them now. So.
Okay, so Okta right there. Yeah, IT service management. We'll try to get their results in a second. This stock year to date, Okta, is it was down 6% year to date. So definitely was one of the stocks that hadn't rallied this year. So any piece of good news is getting it some momentum. 17% currently right now on Okta. Oh, Robinhood. I think we got the Robinhood close above 38 as well. Yep, Robinhood 38.70. Absolutely phenomenal. Got upgraded twice yesterday. They're going to be at their investor day tomorrow. First IPO close above 38 in over 3 years. So absolutely incredible for Robinhood currently on the day. CRM down 1.3%. Again, I think someone has the numbers, but we're still kind of waiting to see what it looks like. Okta's up 15%. Marvell currently down about 0.11% after the bell. Okta's like two-factor authentication tools used by companies. Yes, that is also true. Yeah, I believe that is correct. Correct as well. Okay, so let's try to see if we have Salesforce numbers or not. Same thing with Okta. Oh, we got it. Yeah, they have missed on EPS. They beat on revenue. How big of a beat is this? All right, so I don't know. So they missed on EPS, 241 versus 245. That's probably why they're down 1.5%. The revenue they beat by 9.4 to 9.3. Is that a big enough beat for all of the stuff that Benioff has been talking up when it comes to Agentforce? I don't know.
Yeah, it'll come down to guidance probably. So we'll have to see what they post for that in their remarks.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to be saying that AI is a real again, this is a company that does not grow aggressively. They're not growing 30, 40%. Those days are behind them. But if they could get back to like 15, 20% growth, that would be pretty incredible. I think that's what the market's looking for. All right, Salesforce earnings are out. Here we go. Third quarter revenue up $9.44 billion, 8% year over year. That is not screaming exponential growth led by AI, in my opinion. Now, the stock could still pump, but that's not a ton of AI growth. But still, at their base, it's not a horrible thing to grow 8% year over year. Third quarter operating cash flow, $1.9 billion. That's up 30%. That's actually good. Free cash flow, $1.78 billion, up 30% year over year. That's also good. I mean, free cash flow to be up 30% year over year is not a bad thing. Returned $1.2 billion in the form of share repurchases and $400 million in dividend payments. They have about $1.6 billion that they gave back to shareholders. Fourth quarter revenue growth is 9.9 to 10 billion. That's 7 to 9% growth. Again, you're not seeing even double-digit growth from Salesforce. Maybe the market doesn't care, but there are some parts of the market that kind of want to see that if they're going to talk a big game with AI. They raised the low end of their full-year revenue guidance from 37.8 to 38 billion, so up another 200 million. Raises full-year GAAP operating margin guidance to 19.8%. Raises full-year operating cash flow guidance to 24%. Mark Benioff said, we delivered another quarter of exceptional financial performance across revenue, margin, cash flow, and CRPO. Agentforce, our complete AI system for enterprises built into the Salesforce platform, is at the heart of groundbreaking transformation. The rise of autonomous AI agents is revolutionizing global labor, reshaping how industries operate and scale. With Agentforce, we're not just witnessing the future, we're leading it, unleashing a new era of digital labor from every business and every industry. Are you buying that statement with 8% year-over-year growth?
Those are PayPal numbers. So no, if you want to be thought of as an AI company in the middle of this AI wave and revolution, you cannot put up PayPal growth numbers. I'm sorry. So no.
Well, the market likes it. 3%. Market likes it on Salesforce. So yeah, I am, the market already gave it a lot of love. Again, the market might be thinking, hey, if we're paying 150 billion for Palantir, we got to be paying a little bit more than 300 billion for Salesforce, which either means Salesforce is undervalued or Palantir is overvalued. We'll kind of see how the market decides it. But 3% currently right now means that the market at least likes these numbers, but it's not crazy exponential growth in the AI space. Okta right here up 16%. We'll try to get their numbers, and then Marvell as well, currently up 7% right now. Where is Nvidia? I haven't looked at them. Nvidia is, they ended the day green, 140, Robin at 38.64. Palantir still up after hours. Wow, 71.24. It looks like Palantir is getting some love from Salesforce as well. Salesforce owns Slack. That is correct, but remember, Salesforce bought Slack for like a $40 billion, which a lot of people said they overpaid for that. So that is an asset for them, but that is something that you could argue they paid a little bit too much for. All right, let's get some Salesforce coverage, and then we'll keep going from there.
Adjusted, which is below the Wall Street expectation of $2.44 adjusted. Sales came in above expectations at $9.44 billion. The street was looking for 9.3. And I would point out that this is sales growth of 8% year over year. Mark Benioff, CEO of Salesforce, says we delivered another quarter of exceptional financial performance across revenue, margins, and cash flow. He says Agentforce, which is the company's AI agent that revealed earlier this year for AI systems for enterprises built into the Salesforce platform, is at the heart of a groundbreaking transformation. The rise of autonomous AI agents is revolutionizing global labor, reshaping how industries operate and scale. Now, when the earnings call begins, guys, we're going to want some more numbers around inbound orders and contracts from companies, and how many new enterprise customers have signed up for the AI agent, which there's been a lot of enthusiasm around, which has helped the stock outperform over the past month. Back to you.
All right, Seema, that stock now moving higher, bumping around a bit. It was lower initially on the results, now up about 2%. Deepak, I don't know if you can talk about Salesforce at all, but I know.
All right, so there you go. That's what you got on Salesforce. That's what you got. It is green. Currently, Tesla, by the way, up about 0.26% after hours. Meta's up. Salesforce up a nice 3.36%. Palantir up another 0.5%, 71.27. SMCI is up a little bit. Amazon's down. Amazon had a great event today. I think there's going to be a lot of implications for Amazon over the coming years based on this event. This is also a name that you like a lot as well, right?
Amazon, I've never bought it. I always think, man, I just should buy. Actually, that's probably something in the new year. I'm probably going to start one more position next year, and Amazon's really at the top of the list there right now.
Yeah, I agree. And that's a good question for the chat. For the people that want to start at least one new position, what is that position? Because I want to start a couple new positions, but I agree Amazon would be one of those names for me as well. So put in the chat, what is that one stock that you desperately want to get a new position into? These are Okta results, 14% year over year. Subscription revenue also 14% year over year. RPOs 19% up year over year. And operating cash flow of $159 million. Revenue was $665 million. Okta's market cap is $13 billion. Price of sales of 5, and their PE is 55. A little expensive of a PE with only 14% revenue growth, but nonetheless. CEO says our solid Q3 results were underpinned by continuously strong profitability and cash flow. The focus investments we made in our partner ecosystem, the public sector vertical, and the large customers are materializing in our business, with each of these areas contributing meaningfully to top line growth. Now, I think you would agree with me, Roy. I know Palantir is expensive here, but we just looked at a couple SaaS companies that are growing meaningfully under 30%. I know 30% is not crazy for Palantir. The market wants 40, 50%. But that still is good that Palantir is one of those accelerating software names, whereas the other guys don't look like they're accelerating.
Yeah, I mean, if Palantir was growing like at 15% or 13%, 8% year over year, those that are already calling Palantir ridiculously expensive, the biggest bubble they've ever seen, they might just die. Like they might no longer be with us just because of what's happening. Their head just explodes. So, no, like 30% year over year, does it fully justify what Palantir has done? No, part of that is understanding where the company is going, the edge that they have, the moat that they have, the technology that they have. They really don't have competition versus a lot of these SaaS plays. Some of them will leverage AI to grow exponentially, and others are going to be disrupted by AI and just trying. I think the market is still trying to figure that out. I am too.
Yeah, I agree. And, as long as Palantir keeps accelerating revenue, that's one of the most important things. I see a lot of you guys mentioning some of these names, a lot of people mentioning Amazon, Rocket Lab as well, AMD. We got some people mentioning Latin American opportunities, which I know, Roy, you're big on that. We'll talk about that in a bit. Tesla, obviously Amazon. So a bunch of these big names that people want to get a little bit more of. Roy, are you related to Donald Trump?
No.
Are you related to Alex Chriss, the CEO of PayPal?
No, just look like it a little bit. So, yeah.
Okay, having said that, let's talk about PayPal, because this is a name that Roy has been on since the beginning, since it was like $49. has done very well. What is your fair value for PayPal, and do you think it's a buy at 85?
Yeah, I think it's one of just a few undervalued names, like at least that I identify. It's one of just a few that I'm actually buying pretty aggressively. PayPal is, of course, going to benefit from stability as far as macroeconomic stuff. It's going to be benefiting a big beneficiary from this Cyber 5, the Black Friday, Cyber Monday that we just had, and the numbers that have been posted are just absolutely phenomenal. We haven't heard all of them yet. I don't know if PayPal. I don't think Alex Chris tweeted because I didn't see it yet, but hopefully he'll release those numbers. Alex, my brother. No, just kidding. But if he's listening, it'd be great to have him post. He did last year, so e-commerce was up a lot more than people expected. It seems like the overall season was anyway. And of course, last year PayPal was having 25% of all e-commerce run through them. People think of them just as PayPal itself, but Venmo, Braintree are there as well. Margins are beginning to grow. Their advertising business is something that the market is absolutely sleeping on. The same guy that launched Uber's advertising business from scratch, he is in charge of it. He also was the same person that helped accelerate Amazon's market advertising business, which is just a juggernaut. And those are high margin businesses. And the exact same thing, it's almost like a recycled headline that was said of Uber's advertising business when it launches, like, oh, we don't know that they'll actually be able to make it in this market. There's a lot of competition. They're kind of late to show up. Now it's at a $1 billion run rate as of their last quarter. I think PayPal can get there within a couple of years as well. And the market is just sleeping on it. So, I like holding that long term. I trust the CEO. It doesn't hurt that he looks a little bit like me.
I love that he looks like you because everyone thinks that you're him. All right, guys, we have Box and Okta earnings. We'll go through those. And then because Roy's the special guest on the show, we'll do Q&A. So any questions you have for Roy, any specific stocks, anything like that, let us know in the chat. But let's get through Box and Okta, and then we'll do some Q&A here.
Thank you. Box earnings are out. Deirdre Bosa has those. Deirdre.
Hey, John, so shares were down as much as 6.5%. They've narrowed some of those losses down about 3.8%. It's a beat on the top and bottom lines. EPS coming in at 45 cents adjusted per share versus 42 expected. Revenue a little better than expected at 276 million versus 275 million expected. Non-GAAP EPS guidance for the full year is also 3 cents above consensus. Q4 revenue guidance right in line with expectations at $1.1 billion. I did just speak to Box CEO Aaron Levy. He called out some of those Forex headwinds thanks to significant business presence in Japan. He said that the results were driven by AI tailwinds. He noted that Box is operating this operating margin this quarter, 29%, a record and driven by efficiency using their own.
Box's data storage, from my understanding. I could be a little off here, but it's like storing your data in the cloud. That's like maybe my butchered explanation of it, but that's what they do.
Own software. Guys, that's Box earnings, and shares are continue to sort of narrow those losses, now down by only about 1.8%.
Okay. I think we're down 3% right now. Deirdre Bosa, thank you. Okta earnings are out as well. Seema Modi has those numbers. Hi, Seema.
And Morgan, point your attention to the screen. Shares are surging here after a big 9-cent beat on its bottom line. Sales also coming in ahead of consensus, and subscription revenue of $651 million above the $635 million Wall Street estimate. Q4 guidance well above what Wall Street analysts were predicting, between 73 to 74. I would point you to also comments from Todd McKinnon, the Chief Executive Officer of Okta, who says that focused investments that it's made in its partner ecosystem, the public sector vertical, and large customers are materializing in our business, which each of these areas contributing meaningfully to top line growth, which shares now up about 16% on this big beat and bullish guidance for the fourth quarter, guys.
All right, Seema, thanks. Big move for that. Big move also for Pure Storage. Those numbers are out. Let me get them to you here. Pure Storage beats on the top and bottom lines for Q3, guides to Q4 revenue above the street, but because of a new hyperscaler deal that you're going to hear more about first here on Overtime before the call, the Q4 operating margin is a bit below the street to support what the CEO tells me is a significant deal. So the numbers, Pure's Q3 revenue, $831 million versus $815 million expected. Non-GAAP EPS, 50 cents versus 42 cents expected. For Q4, the revenue guide is to $867 million versus $856 expected. Operating margin guide, though, is to 15.6% non-GAAP versus 18.4% expected. Now, CEO Charlie Giancarlo
So PSTG Pure Storage, another name I don't know too much about. That was up 53% during the year. It's up 21% after hours. So again, another IT solutions kind of play around cloud and infrastructure. It does look like more of the hyperscalers are investing in that stuff. More companies need these types of platforms like a Box or like a PSTG. And the SaaS ecosystem seems to be strong. And Salesforce, Palantir, obviously kind of leading the way in this place. Pure Storage was a Kathy stock that she sold completely out on the 20s. Yeah, I haven't heard of this one before. I actually thought it was like a storage center for physical.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I thought it was. But apparently it's more stuff that we got in the cloud. All right. There you go, folks. Those are earnings for today. Pure Storage right here up 21%. We got Salesforce up a nice 3.5% after earnings. Marvell up 7.9%. I'll get their numbers in a bit. And then Okta up 20%. Pure Storage, CRM, and Marvell were all up year to date. Okta was not. So Okta getting some love right here, up 20% on a pretty decent earnings. All right, not bad. Let's get into some Q&A for our special guest here, Enphase. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think Enphase is underappreciated by the market. It's one that there's a lot of negativity put into the stock, and I love buying stocks like that. If they're quality companies, this is, I think, the queen of solar inverters, and that's one of the businesses you want to be in, not the panel business, which is a commodity. So I think with a lot of that price in. Now, the difficult thing is trying to figure out, because this is a very cyclical industry, when that's going to turn bullish, and I don't have a good handle on that. I'm still doing DD on the company. I'm doing the Stanley Druckenmiller approach, which is to invest, then investigate. So that way I don't miss a run. And glad I got in when I did, because a lot of people were saying, hey, fall to 50, 40 bucks. I don't think so. It's a quality company. They're not losing money. They're not burning money. There are some hard and difficult times, but a lot of the stuff that's priced into it are things like all of the incentives will go away. Well, probably not manufacturing credits, certainly not local credits as well. Or the oil will be pumped to the point where you're paying like $1.50 a gallon. I haven't seen that, but just so extreme that I'm like, okay, that's a little bit extreme. There's a need for solar. Elon's a big solar guy. It's not a winner take all market, and I think that they're going to benefit long term.
If we get $1.50 oil, bro, I mean that's going to be wild. We are at 270 here in New Jersey. In Texas, you're around that range, right?
We're like 230, 240.
Oh,
I
that's
think.
amazing.
So, but I drive a Tesla, so I don't pay attention.
That's true. That's true. You drive a Tesla. So yeah, I don't think we're gonna get there, but if we do, obviously that can be important. But if we don't get it, then it's okay. Chris CRM says, I like this guy, man. How'd you get him into your basement? Thankfully, he is actually the guest bedroom in our house is in the basement, so he will be in the basement today.
It's true.
Nubank, are you buying the dip on Nubank?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I doubled down on Friday, which is a little bit early. I also bought some leaps as well. They're a resilient business. They're in all the good ways. They're like a cockroach. It cannot be killed. They were born in the middle of a recession. They've been through some very, very turbulent geopolitical times. Like, it's just the geopolitical stuff, even in Brazil, is just absolutely crazy, even back when it was. And so, yeah, quality business. It's down in maybe a little while that they'll have some headwinds in Brazil.
It's still up 40% year to date.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
It's had a good year, regardless of the 7% decline.
A little bit of pain in the near term, but it's that's the other name too that I'm just seeing very, very cheap on the market for myself. It could take a little while to play out, but I'm happy to hold it long term.
We got our boy Paper Gains in the chat. We're not doing Technical Tuesday today, but he did tell me to tell you guys some stuff. So let me repeat what he said. So this is what Jason wanted me to tell you guys. He said he was right about Meta to buy it at 555, and we'd be at all-time highs within a week or two. We're at all-time highs on Meta. He said Apple would have a larger market cap than NVIDIA. Apple is at all-time highs. This guy's been bullish on Apple forever, so he's correct about that. He said Netflix will be over $1,000 soon. We're not there yet. And he said TMDX Transmedics is a poop show. And currently, it has been a poop show. So that's what Jason wanted me to tell you guys as well. SoFi. General thoughts on SoFi. You've been bullish on SoFi since $4. Stock's broken out $16. Where do you see SoFi going in 2025?
Yeah, my base case is 25 and 2025, assuming nothing special at all from the tech platform, that it just trades, a little bit above a bank, but they're going to accelerate lending business massively. The lending platform that they've developed is absolutely phenomenal. They're going to be able to sell loans left and right into lower interest rates. I think they'll continue to, of course, ramp up that flywheel, and they'll launch some new products as well. Like, the guidance is very clear. They always beat as well through 2026. And it would be a bit of a surprise if it doesn't exceed my base case. So still a lot of way to run. I think it was a month and a half ago when it was at $7. Personally, I saw SoFi as the number one play out of all the stocks that I look at, everything on all of my watch lists. It's run up, since then more than doubled. So I don't know that I can say that now, but yeah, there's still plenty of ways to run. I've not taken much off the table for SoFi at all. As a result.
Do you like it at 16 as a buy?
If I had no SoFi and I wanted it for like the next 5 years, absolutely. I'd have no problem buying it at 16. It's an incredible company. The one part that I am wanting to see this year, and I need to see as an investor, otherwise I'll take a little bit more off the table, is an acceleration in the tech platform. It's underperformed. There's reasons why it's underperformed, but there's a lot of tailwinds that have shifted for this year and for next year for the tech platform. And so if it's only growing, 15%, 18% year over year, it's still better than Salesforce, but it's not the AWS of fintech at that point. Like, could it be in the future? Maybe. But yeah, SoFi has so many things going for it right now. If I had none, I would be buying it, but it's like 16 or 17% of my portfolio. So I'm good.
All right. Do you know anything about Palomar Holdings at all?
I do not.
Okay.
No.
That's an insurance company, but thank you for the super chat. Roy does not know too much about them. I don't know too much about them either. The other question I was going to ask you about after SoFi was HIMS. People are very curious about. You've been bullish on HIMS, I think, since single digits as well, right?
Not single digits. So when they began to fall and they fell down to $13 a share, Tevis was pounding the table. Data-driven investing had been pounding the table for a long time on this. And I was gun shy. And the reason why is back in the day, I invested some in Teladoc. And I got out, thankfully, with a very small loss. But I think a pretty interesting product is what they had, but terrible, terrible management. And there's a lot of competition in that space. And so I didn't even want to look at HIMS because, I was already burned in this industry before. So finally, when it just kept falling to $13 a share, I said, you know what, I'm going to take a look at this. And I found out they actually have a moat. They have phenomenal leadership. They're making money. They don't have debt. They're doing so many things right, even when, and I thought it was inevitable. In fact, like every single person that I was talking to that held HIMS or looked at HIMS, they're like, yeah, Amazon will get in this space. There's others that'll get in this space because it's very lucrative. That's a great place to be in. But competition doesn't, in this case, diminish the thesis.
So you don't think Amazon's taking their lunch?
I don't think so, no. Yeah, Amazon, it might have like a small impact, but overall, like really the competition is not Amazon and HIMS. It's the old way of doing things with prescriptions. It's looking at, Walgreens and CVS. Those guys are going to be hurting quite a bit.
Right. That is very fair. Ephemeral Phase, thank you for becoming a channel member. Really appreciate it. Thank you for becoming a channel member. First of all, Roy, can you tell everyone I'm taller than you right now?
It certainly looks like he's taller than me, so.
But I'm not taller than
I'm yeah.
So yeah, I'm like 5'7", guys, 5'8" on a good day. You're like 6'1", right?
I'm 5'11", so
okay.
yeah.
You're basically 6'1".
Amit does like feel like he's taller just because he has a big personality,
Talking about it.
Yeah, and it's that swagger. So,
see, you got. I didn't pay him to say that. He's saying it. All right, he's saying it.
It seems like you're 6 foot. Like that's just what I'm saying.
No, it is what it is. Rocket Lab. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, Rocket Lab is one that I missed. Matt was pounding the table on it, $4, $5, $6 a share. Vince is bullish as well. And finally, I don't remember like exactly what he said, but he said like Rocket Lab, like get serious about it. It was like $7 a share, $6 a share. And I said, okay. And that was just my response. And I told him, I messaged him. I was like, hey, I mean, okay, I'm going to check this out. I'm going to do some DD in it. And I had not shifted my approach to invest, then investigate. And so it took me a week, and Rocket Lab ran to like, $11 a share or something like that. And I'm like, well, it'll probably come back down. I like it. I think that it's not, space is not a winner take all. It's, there's going to be a couple of winners. Rocket Lab is clearly one. SpaceX is clearly one. There's probably room for a third that'll be a little differentiated as well. But no, it's a phenomenal business. Peter Beck is a real deal. I liked the Neutron rocket that they had as well, and just some of the plans that they had on the table. Just the scaling up their launches. They're very, very successful in that. They'll be profitable sometime this next year. And so I wanted a piece, and I just kept waiting for it to come back down. That was my mistake. So yeah, here I'm still not going to buy it. If it does come down and consolidate some in the teen range, I'll get grabbed maybe a little bit, but we'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah, I think the thing about Rocket Lab is that we kind of missed it. And, shout out to Matt Money. He was bullish on it for whatever reason. For me, it was a liquidity thing. I just didn't have enough money to put into it. I'm sure for other people, kind of the same thing. So now it's a question of, does it keep taking off? And kind of the feeling we're having with Rocket Lab is similar to what people are having about Palantir right now, right? And sometimes it's just hard to chase something because you have to kind of deal with the psychology and valuation around it. Palantir is now the largest defense contractor, bigger than Lockheed Martin and Raytheon. How do you feel about that?
I would not have put that on the "this is happening in 2024" list. I thought eventually, maybe like 5 years, they could be. Part of it's just the run that the stock has had, but it's an incredible company too. Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, like they're doing good things, in the defense space. But yeah, Palantir, they're phenomenal, and you just see that today. Of course, with that FedRAMP an announcement as well that they're differentiated. Hopefully, there's a lot of companies like Palantir that'll get into this space that have largely ignored being in government. I know that their management has been wanting that to actually happen. That'd be good for Palantir too, because they have that FedRAMP, so they can actually benefit off of competition or tangential partners rather. So yeah, they're just so well positioned, guys.
Yeah, I think they're well positioned. And although it might look crazy with Lockheed Martin and Raytheon doing like 20x the revenue of Palantir, but not being valued as much, it doesn't even matter if I say, well, their margins aren't the best or they don't grow as much, because still, like, it's hard to make that argument numerically. But the market is buying into a larger vision. Let me ask you that question, Roy. I mean, why do you think the market is this excited about Palantir? Like, you've been in this story for years now. What do you think the market's seeing that is just that big of a deal?
So there are fundamental investors and funds that they go that way, and they just look, they look beyond like PE and stuff, but that's how they trade. But there's a lot of people that trade based on narratives, and it's not just retail, it's institutions as well. And honestly, that's, some people that are especially value investors, they might say, well, that's the wrong way to do it. But you look at performance, and if you find a quality company that is differentiated in a space that is going to grow rapidly, and this to me, like we were talking a little bit about it, this is not the internet to me, like what's happening with AI. This is the mechanization that happened. It's basically the last stages of the industrial revolution that happened. Like this coming up year, I think it feels like 1924. The 2025 will feel like that, where there's a lot of parallels in government, but there's a lot of parallels as well as far as the disruption and that boost to the economy that mechanization had in the 1920s. And so, like, and Palantir is just, the TAM is like ridiculous. There's no company like
okay,
this.
but when you say that and people are like, that's crappy analysis, because that's what the bears are saying. If you're using TAM to justify it, really, how would you push back against that?
I mean, to be fair, like if I had no Palantir, I'd probably nibble a little bit, but more likely than not, I'd treat it like Rocket Lab. I'd be like, I hope it comes back down to the 50s. I'll buy more then. But I have a lot, so I'm glad to just sit and let it run. TAM, the difficult thing with TAM is a lot of businesses have massive TAM. The question is, will they actually reach that? And there's a couple of things that's necessary, and Palantir actually has all of these. First, you need excellent management and excellent leadership. Palantir has that. Like, you see the level of respect that Alex Karp is getting from all sorts of different business leaders and political leaders. And he's been in this space. He's been leading this company. He's a founder from the very beginning. And he's not the only guy that's incredible at Palantir. It has a great culture as well. The vision is there as well. And there's a hunger, there's a drive forward. So they're not just like, all right, we did it, guys. Let's just sit back, kick up our feet, drink some Mai Tais and call it a day. You need a moat. You can have an immense TAM, but if you don't have a moat or you don't have much of a moat, you're not going to capture much of that TAM. And so Palantir absolutely does. There's just not a company that does what Palantir does. They can brand their thing Foundry and try to sell it as doing the exact same thing as AIP, but it doesn't perform the same way. And the third thing you need is an actual strategy to get there. Palantir lacked this as of a year and a half ago, but when boot camps, when they came out with that idea, and AIP as well, this was that silver bullet. It was exactly what they missed. Previously, they had the very, very long deal pipelines that would take a year and a half, 2 years, would always take forward deployed engineers, and it just wasn't scalable. Now they have what they need to be able to scale. And the great thing is there's network effects. As there's all these headlines that are coming out about Palantir, as all these companies are demonstrating on AIPCon the success that they've had with Palantir. As Microsoft shouts them out, as Amazon partners with them, more and more companies are like, okay, we've tried our AI strategy using, whatever thing that they tried. So maybe Microsoft's product or Amazon's, or hopefully not C3 AI. I'm sorry if they did, but they kind of get what they deserve. And they're like, we need something actually real. We need something tangible. What's actually working out there? And Palantir is a known name now. So no, I think that a lot of this TAM, they're not going to reach all of it. There's no company that'll reach all of the TAM that's out there, no matter how differentiated they are, but they can capture a sizable amount. So when Karp says we're going to take the whole market, maybe not the whole market, but a huge, huge amount that, even myself, as bullish as I was like a year and a half ago, never dreamed that they'd be able to do what they're doing now.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And speaking of Karp, by the way, Roy's Twitter in the chat, guys, so you can check him out there. This is a clip from Karp that I shared October 3rd. So I think we were hitting 40 or just about, and that was a momentous occasion. I think it's right to share this clip again. Let's take a listen to it and kind of want to get your thoughts on what Karp had to say here. All right, here we go.
How do we have the best investors in the world, especially individual investors? Why do they stick with us when times were hard? Why do they fight for Palantir? Why do they, every time someone writes something in name, Palantir's gone MAGA, Palantir doesn't have a product, Palantir doesn't have margins. I'm sure this quarter Palantir's growth is decelerating, despite the fact we're obviously crushing it in America. Palantir is too crazy. Palantir will never be profitable. Palantir can't IPO. Palantir is too weird and odd to produce something that will be disruptive. We knew it was bullshit. The people who out on the front fighting against that BS, fighting against lazy, inept, discriminatory in the sense that is ignorance, people maligning Palantir, do it in great part because they believe that we are fighting for them, and we are. And we're fighting for ourselves. And that's why we have such a great company. So thank you.
Thoughts?
Yeah, I think it was maybe a year ago that people were asking if the product worked. And he said, ask the Russians. Now they don't have to. The product is real. It's legitimate. Enough companies have seen that. They've seen the results. They've shared that as well. I believe it was his most recent shareholder letter, might have been 2 quarters ago. He said, this is just the beginning. And I think that that's true. Like Palantir's story is just beginning as a company. The stock, there might be some catching up to do at some point, some consolidation. I'm sure that there will be at some point. Like who knows how high it can run in the meantime. But Karp was right all along. It's almost like he has a Palantir where he can look at oh wait, no.
Imagine if he did, that would be insane.
Yeah. Like how are you so successful? We have a Palantir. That's literally why we were so successful.
All right. So the past 47 minutes have been relatively bullish about Palantir. We've talked about a lot of things. We talked about the exciting starts of Palantir, the TAM, valuation, all that stuff. However, I think the reason a lot of people trust my channel, they watch my show, they trust your thoughts, and they care about what you have to say, is because we are not GameStop to the moon. We are pretty objective when it comes to things about Palantir. And in the spirit of objectivity, here's some news that we've got to report that I just found out. Shyam Sankar sold 5.2 million shares today.
Yeah.
$367 million. I don't know exactly how much of his stake he sold today. I'll have to do some research on what percentage that is. But 2 pieces of analysis right here. A, Shyam definitely took some profits. I don't think this is just to cover taxes, folks. I think 5.2 million shares is taking profits. B, the stock went up 7% on an insider sell of 5.2 million shares, which is absolutely incredible. It's the same trend we've seen with Karp, with Teal, all these guys selling. Final thing I'll say, and then I want to get your thoughts on this. If you see this and you hate this, which you have every right to feel like that, you could still sell today at the same price that Shyam sold at. But the reason I think a lot of people are not selling with the insiders is because A, they think insider selling is just part of the game. B, if it's a generational company that the institutions are buying off of Shyam, Peter, and Alex, then maybe it's not something that you necessarily need to get that excited to trim if you think the institutions are going to hold on to it for a long time. Your thoughts on Shyam selling?
Yeah, no, I think if you've been a Palantir shareholder for very long, this is going to happen. It's been happening every single time. And I'm sure if you go on Twitter right now, you'll get people saying, oh, it's clearly the top. Insiders are selling. Search for that, and you'll find that said probably at least a dozen times this year. It's not been the top so far. At some point, they'll eventually be right. It's like calling for a bear market, every other month. Eventually, you'll get it. Stock-based compensation is very high for Palantir. It's come down as a percentage of revenue, but it's what they need really to retain that talent and obtain that initial talent as well. I don't think that this is a reason to sell. Stock-based compensation would only really bother me, and there's only one quarter where it did bother me, if revenue was really, really falling, if they didn't have a plan, if they didn't have a strategy in place. There's a quarter back in 2022 when growth was 13% year over year, and it's like, okay, that doesn't justify the SBC. It's just a quarter.
Yeah.
We'll see what they do in the future, and of course, they were able to correct.
Yeah. Is it a scheduled sale, guys? I don't know. Look, I don't think selling 5.2 million shares is scheduled. I really don't. I could be wrong. I don't think so. But I agree with Roy right here in terms of, look, this is a part of being in a tech company. Jensen's been selling a ton of shares. Bezos has been selling a ton of shares. Zuck's sold a ton of shares a couple months ago. It is what it is. With these tech companies, the way tech stocks are valued are on future growth. At 13% growth, there was no way to justify the stock-based comp. At 30% growth and accelerating, again, maybe they de-accelerate, but from all the things we've seen, it's hopefully goes to 35, 40% next year. That is where the market provides such massive liquidity for people like insiders to take profits. And Sham was the 7th employee at the company, 13th employee. Probably deserves to take some profits as well.
Yeah, it's well deserved. And, this is also a good reminder, too, for you guys. Like, it's not wrong to take profits. Like, your situation better than anybody else. And so I've not taken off of any shares. I do have some covered calls underwater, and I'm probably okay letting those go if the price stays where it's at in 2020, the next year, 2025. So if that's the case, I'll still have a lot of Palantir. I'm like 50% Palantir in my portfolio. So at this price, I'm okay locking in some profits. That's just my situation. I know what we can do with that as a family. And don't feel bad. Like, even though we are, we always joke around that we're a cult and make fun of people to me that sold early. There's a lot of room left for Palantir to run over the next decade. Like, short term, it could do anything. So do what is best for your situation. The founders, the creators of the company are doing that. It's not wrong to lock in some gains.
Yeah, and this is what I think differentiates us from the AMC and GameStop community, because they will tell you to hold on forever as if Ryan Cohen has any realistic plan. But as Doug says right here, I can barely diamond hand 5,000 shares. Imagine having 5 million. And imagine having 5 million shares knowing your stock is valued more than Lockheed Martin and you guys are doing $100 million of net income. At some level, also the insiders are thinking, all right, the market's giving me one of the greatest opportunities ever. It would kind of be stupid for me to not take some off the table. Now, granted, if you have 5,000 shares, that's different from having 5 million. So risk mitigation is a sliding scale based on sort of your allocation size. But I do think if you want to take profits and you've held on to this thing for a long time, that is totally acceptable. Now, I think the people that get shit for selling are the people who sold at 30 or 40 or whatever they sold at, and they insulted the Palantir community. They said, you guys are all stupid. They said hats were the top because for some reason hats are a red flag. I mean, we know some of those people that did that. Mm-hmm. And I think those people, funnily enough, when you become a bully, life ends up bullying you back, and they missed out on some big gains on Palantir.
And it could be, Palantir, like we're at the point now where the value is pretty extreme for where Palantir is at as a company. Being the biggest defense contractor, that's just shocking. But it could still it could double in the next 3 months. It could. I would be shocked by that, but it could absolutely do that. And so, Sham today could look silly for selling right here. Or if I take some money off the table in January and it goes to 120 within the year, it's like, well, I sold too early. But your situation better. Like, if you are losing sleep and you're worried about Palantir's stock coming back down or locking in some gains, for your mental health, think about taking some gains. It's okay. And if you're like, hey, I've already taken some, I'm going to let it, I'm great. Or if you're like, hey, I don't need this money anytime soon. This is a phenomenal company. It's a unicorn. That's exactly what I think too. You can let it ride. Like, you do you. That's personal or individual investing.
Palantir 7117 after hours. And again, the other reason, guys, I think this is institutions that are buying is if Sham can get away with selling 5 million shares and the stock goes up 7%, I think Morgan Stanley or whoever brokered his deal is probably offering those shares to some money manager at a set price. And that's kind of how it gets done. And I think that's why those shares don't really make a dent in the overall stock action when it comes to Palantir. We got a super chat here for $10. Thank you, the McAdams family. Amit, tell Vlad to fix his product. Robinhood is great until you need customer service. I'm moving my assets elsewhere. Thoughts on customer service on Robinhood?
Yeah, I've heard that from a couple of people. I've not experienced that myself, and I'm only just one person. I know that they're using some AI to resolve some problems, and I know when I've had a problem that is above and beyond AI, I think there was one time I was chatting at like 2 a.m, and I got a response within just a couple of minutes. And it's not because I'm some well or mammoth. It's not because Vlad has followed me on. It's none of those things. It's just that's what they are trying to do as far as customer service. Hopefully, they continue to do that as they scale. It's always a disappointment though when customer service does fail you. Like I've been there with companies before, and it's hard to trust them. So I get where you're coming from, but yeah, I've enjoyed it. I've actually been surprised. I've been using Robinhood as my main broker for about a year, I think. I was using Webull before. I've used Schwab a little bit. So I enjoy Robinhood.
Yeah, and look, the customer support's not perfect, but I think that'll get better. I think it'll get better. I agree, it's not the best, so I totally understand wanting to leave and not wanting to put more money in the platform. It's been good for me. It's not good for everybody. I get it, and I think eventually it will get better. I'm getting requests to call someone live, so right. You'll get to speak to him live before you see him tomorrow, folks, and we'll see what he has to say.
I'll call you in 5 minutes.
Okay, we'll be waiting for 5 minutes. That's Steve, folks. He said he wants to call into the show. Probably because he wants to congratulate us on Palantir being at 71.
Yeah.
Did you? Oh, you didn't hear? You were on the flight today. He raised his price target on Palantir.
Steve did.
Okay. I'm not gonna say it. I'll wait till he calls because the chat knows. Don't put the number in the chat. Don't let Roy see it yet. But we'll see. We'll see what Steve has to say.
The last time I talked to him, I think it was on SoFi Weekly. He popped in, and we always have to mention Palantir to the guys that sold too early. It's just fun. They're friends of ours, and we'll get to see one of them tomorrow. No, it's he had said, it's run up so much, the valuation is extreme, and same things that I'm saying, not selling, but just that's where it is at the company. This is a good thing, guys. This is not a bad thing. So I'm kind of curious what shifted that for him. If it was the FedRAMP stuff.
No. You'll be excited. It has nothing to do with FedRAMP. You'll be excited to see his overview. On his upgrade. So let's take a look at this news, guys. U.S. politician Michael Collins has bought $15,000 of 2 coins. One is called Aero, A-E-R-O. The other one is Ski Mask Dog. What is your raw reaction when you see something like this, Roy?
I mean, clearly Ski Mask Dog is the crypto of the future. It's going to the moon. It'll replace Bit. No, I don't even know what that is, but it does feel like meme coin and altcoin season. These don't last forever. If you're in meme coins or altcoins, just know what your goals are, know where you want to take profits. I don't recommend diamond handing these, but if you want to trade them, yeah, sure. It worries me a bit when politicians are doing things like that.
Yeah.
I wonder how they found that out.
Well, they have to disclose everything. So
even with crypto,
I guess they have to. I mean, if this guy made millions of dollars on crypto, I guess people will be questioning. I don't know how that's legal. I don't know if it should be illegal. It's just one of those things that feels like it should be illegal, but I don't know if it probably should be. Ski Mask Dog is 13 cents. It's up 300% in the past 7 days. I don't know exactly when he bought it, but if he bought it 7 days ago, he's up 300%. And this is stuff that is kind of scary. But as you said, ultimately, we just can't see too much of this happening, I imagine.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the new SEC chair will do as far as things that are relating to this. What regulation is done as far as senators. So, okay. So
you're looking at something I'm not showing the chat yet. So the dude responded, who the heck is Mike Collins? This was his response. This doesn't feel good seeing our representatives. Who the hell is Representative Mike Collins? Does anyone know this guy? Mike Collins, U.S. representative. He's responding with a frog emoji underneath. He's the 10th District of Georgia representative. I think he's a Republican. They started a trucking company in the early 1990s. Mike has served on the board and chairman of one of the Georgia's largest credit unions and president of his local chamber of commerce. And now he's buying meme coins. Georgia. 57 years old, Republican Party. Yes, so he is indeed a Republican. All right, it is what it is.
He should have bought Pelosi coin or created Pelosi coin and bought that. I mean, that would be the greatest meme coin of all time.
That probably would be the greatest meme coin of all time. Possible hack? I don't think so. I mean, maybe, but that post has been up there for 2 hours now, so I don't know if they got hacked. Thoughts on Tesla? Tesla's had an incredible run. Elon and Trump are buddy. What do you think is going on with Tesla right now?
Well, first, I'm kind of shocked at the run up after the election. I thought it would run a little bit, like 10%, 15%. No, it's a lot more. I know that some of that too is excitement over the new version of FSD, and FSD is getting closer. You've tried FSD yet?
Not yet.
Oh man, I know your free trial has to be coming,
Yeah.
but it is really, really good. You're on Hardware Stack 4, so you'll have to let us know how that is. I have a used Tesla 2022 Model 3, and so as a result, it is a Hardware Stack 3. It's very good. I think it actually saved me from a wreck at one point. But
yeah, you were almost in an accident the other day.
Almost
right?
in an accident. Yeah, like 3 weeks ago.
And FSD saved you.
It did. Yeah. So a car swerved into me like with no warning, right into my lane, right into the would have been the side of the car, and I was on FSD, and it instantly just got over. I have good reaction time. I would not have had that much reaction time. It wouldn't have totaled the car. I don't think there would have been injuries, but it avoided that. But then it does stupid things like, oh, this lane is ending. It's like, well, I'll just keep going straight then because I make my own rules. And it's like, come on, don't do that. But no, it's getting good enough to the point where it's beginning to penetrate the consciousness of people that are not Tesla owners. What I mean by that is I've got a friend that he is in his, I believe he's in his 60s now. He might be in his late 50s. And he and I went out to lunch actually last Sunday. And we talked about Tesla and a lot of other things too. And he is a gadget guy. He's like, hey, when full self-driving becomes real, this is a conversation from back in the summer. He's like, I will get a Tesla. And for him, real is when it's actually unsupervised. Now, Texas and California supposedly are two states where that will be the reality next year. That's an Elon timeline. I don't know if I trust it, but at some point it's going to come. And for him, he's like, absolutely, we're going to get a Tesla, no questions asked. I even gave a ride to somebody during my second FSD trial. She's 80 years old and is not a gadget person at all. And she was very impressed with full self-driving. So, and the best thing about it is I told her, she's like, I'd never get a Tesla. I'd never really want this. Like, this is kind of scary to trust it. And I was like, I hear you, but what about, for many that I know and that she knows as well, that are at the point where they just can't drive anymore because their eyesight is deteriorated. They just don't have the health. They have seizures. She's like, I see it. So yeah, Tesla, I don't know. It trades on a narrative. The narrative is very good, very strong right now.
Do you think the robotics part of the business is also a reason to buy it at these valuations?
You get that for free, I think, basically. But yes, yeah, absolutely. That's if you're a long-term shareholder, like robotics, automation, those are two things that, like, if you're just buying it for the car business, I mean, it's a great car business, but not good enough to justify this valuation. Energy, it's a great energy business. Services, doing great there too. But you need something a little bit more. Automation and, of course, Optimus are two huge thrusts. And everybody, I think, will want an Optimus bot, especially if it's at that price point that Elon Musk.
Would you buy it at 20 grand? Would you buy it?
Oh, yes.
Why?
I mean, it's cheaper than a car, and it does my laundry. It does my cooking. It does the cleaning. At that point, we won't have maybe my daughter will still be at home at that point, but not having to do any chores at all is like so freeing. Like the thing that Tesla is doing at this point with a lot of their products is they're really a company that is selling your time back to you.
Right. So
full self-driving, when it becomes real, all of a sudden you have that time to be productive.
That's a good way to put it. I never thought of it like that. That's a good way to put it.
And so you have that. You have, of course, with Optimus, it's giving you your time back because it's doing these chores and things that you don't want to do, mowing your lawn. And you can do the things you still want to do. Like if you like to mow your lawn, do that. That's fine. Just everything that they're doing is going towards that. So it's going to do very, very well because time is the most valuable commodity out there.
That is correct. All right, folks, we got our boy Steve calling in. Steve, you're live on the Market Close with Crossroads and Amit.
Have I ever told you that I can see the future?
Okay, so you've had a new revelation overnight.
All right.
What's the future, Steve?
So the future is that Palantir is going to close at 72.27 tomorrow.
And how did you come to that conclusion, Steve?
Because I'm doing some back of the napkin math based on what Salesforce is doing.
Okay, first of all, can you say hi to Roy? Roy's here.
In Roy we trust.
In
Did
Roy-
you know? Did you know?
Hold on. Before you say what you're going to say, I didn't tell him your new price target for Palantir. I wanted you to tell him flat up, what is your new price target for Palantir?
No, but hold on. Did you know that Roy can start a fire with water?
You can?
These are jokes going a long ways back.
I haven't heard this one. I haven't heard this joke.
You didn't know that Roy can start a fire with water?
I was not part of that thread. So no, I did not know.
But it's not a joke, it's real.
Okay, anyway, tell him your new price target because he's very curious. No one has said it in the chat yet, so people want to know.
Wow. All right, so Roy, you ready?
Yes, yeah, I'm ready to be blown away because you were saying valuation was extreme before. So give me the price target and tell me why.
Palantir 2025 150 and not 150 billion market cap. 150 share price.
He's working on the article already. He's literally working on the article already. All right, so tell him why 150 because he thought you upgraded them because of FedStart today, and I was like, no. Steve does not care about FedStart.
Who cares about FedStart? That's small potatoes.
I care.
That's small potatoes.
No,
oh, listen. If you can't beat the madness, join the madness.
You know, people say this when things get frothy, bro. I'm just saying.
That sounds like a meme stock to me.
Listen, this is that's where we're at right now.
It is.
We're at numbers don't matter, valuations don't matter. People still want to buy at 70 for some reason that I don't understand. So you know what? If there's more buyers than sellers at 70, there's going to be more buyers than sellers at 75 because nobody's buying at 70 to make $5 a share.
That's true.
That is fair. So your argument, Steve, again for 150 is because people are expecting a double, so it will just double. That's your point.
Unless we run out of buyers, obviously valuations hadn't made sense, and people thought I was crazy when I created a free cash flow model and said, "Listen, I don't think it's going to happen now, but I think before 2030 we could see 100 a share based on their growth rates and margins on free cash flow." I said that I think they can get to 4 or 5 billion in annualized free cash flow by 2030. And I thought that I had a pretty good thesis there. I sure didn't think that it was going to happen this quick with a share price. But you know what? If you can't beat them, join them.
So I was going to ask, so Roy also has some covered calls, right? You're not the only one, Steve. So are you letting your shares get called away, or are you going to start buying them back?
I am not going to let them get called away. The covered calls have been rolled way too much, and I am highly considering rolling them all the way up to 85 and just paying the difference out of pocket because I just did it to myself and I deserve the pain.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair.
So I'll use half of somebody else's money and I'll put in my own money to buy back my stupid freaking cover calls.
Yeah.
So, Steve, your S&P target next year, you're aiming around 7,000. Before you give some thoughts, I want to ask Roy this question. Roy, what is your outlook generally into 2025 after a good year? And do you think 7,000 is on the table for the S&P?
I think that there's a good shot of it. There's a lot of actual fundamental reasons to think that we're going to have a very good year as far as the economy. And normally that translates well into the stock market too. Beyond the fact that we're just in a bull run and bull runs are going to bull run, but the one thing that kind of gives me a little bit of pause, and I think that we'll get some clarity on that as soon as Trump is inaugurated. There's been some comments as well, is the tariffs. Tariffs are something that usually are bearish for an economy. There are some benefits to them, but I'm not a big fan. But it can take about 2 years for that to really have a full impact on like inflation and on the U.S. economy as well. But the market is forward looking. So if he comes out and there really are 25% tariffs on Canada, on Mexico, there's 10% or higher on China, and other places as well, that could set off a trade war. and as a result, be pretty bearish for the market. I still think it'll be okay though. There's a lot of good things that are going. Well, the other part too is cutting government spend. So those are like the only two headwinds that I see. There's always some things that we don't expect, but everything else looks really good. AI is real, it's credible, it's changing and revitalizing industries. And of course, the macroeconomic situation seems like overall it's just getting a lot more clear. Inflation is slowly coming down, which is helpful. Energy prices are low. It seems like that's going to be a continued trend as well. So yeah, there's a lot going on that's very, very good. I'd probably be a little under 7,000 on the overall S&P 500 market just based on those headwinds. But 67, 68 seems pretty reasonable.
Steve, your thoughts?
So I would say what Roy said, but I don't think that's fair. So, yeah, I mean, listen, I agree with everything that Roy said, and I would expand on a couple of things. So I started looking into production rates on oil. Saudi Arabia cut from 13 to 12 million barrels per day. They're going to give it an incremental bump in 2025 and then modest bumps in 2026 and 2027 and bring the production up roughly 300,000 barrels per day. Other OPEC plus nations are looking to increase oil production. We know that Trump is going to increase or get rid of regulations to some degree, make it easier for oil companies to operate and certainly export to other countries. So I think we get crude around $60 a barrel or so. That's going to make input costs go down from feedstock on basically oil manufacturing, transportation costs, and also fertilizer costs with natural gas. So when you combine that with the Fed cutting to 3.5% next year and 3% in 2026, if Trump gets corporate taxes, I know you don't want to hear this, but Apple alone at 15% will save $11 billion in taxes, which is roughly 73 cents per share drop to the bottom line. You could have a trifecta here where we see S&P at 7,100 or higher next year.
I mean, look, you got a lot of people that agree with you as well, and you got companies that are delivering results on earnings. So last thing for you, Steve, Salesforce is up 7% right now after growing 8% on the top line, missed a little bit on EPS. You think they deserve to get some love after hours?
Yeah, you say to me, 8%, really? That's massive? Yeah, they're a huge company. That's massive.
but I will say, Steve, Benioff's hyping up AI and Agentforce like it's the next thing better than sliced bread.
That's why Palantir is going to be 72.27 tomorrow, and it's going to finish the week at like 75. Cats and dogs are going to hang out, and we're going to be at 150 by May.
Because of Salesforce. That's why.
Listen, I mean, it's just at this point, what's the bear case? Like, if nobody cared about valuation at 50 and nobody cared about valuation at 60, they're laughing at valuation at 70. Why is it a shock we're going to go to 80 or 90 at this point?
Yeah, that's fair. It's trading definitely on the narrative, not on fundamentals. And there's a lot of stocks that do that, especially in a bull market. Fundamentals do matter over the long term, but over the short term, and short term can be years, not necessarily.
Yeah, and Steve, you also have a point, because if Salesforce delivers 8% growth and they're up 7%, if Palantir is doing anywhere near 35 or 40%, I can't imagine how the market's going to, think of them.
Of course, because we don't care what we pay for growth these days. We're back to 2021. We don't care about.
Okay, it's not 2021. I don't think it's 2021.
It feels like it's 2021.
It feels like it in pockets.
It feels like it's 2021, dude.
Maybe 2020.
No, but Steve, here's the thing. If you think it's 2021, you can't say S&P to 7,000 next year, because then next year is going to be 2022, right?
Why? I'm just saying the narrative about growth at all costs. That doesn't mean that you're going to have a regional banking disaster or inflation. I mean, 2022 happened because of inflation, regional banking crisis. People thought there's going to be a real estate crisis. It wasn't because of people just paying any price for growth. There was a lot of other factors. We don't have those factors today. We're off to the races. This could be the craziest risk-on environment we've seen in 2 decades.
It could happen.
Maybe.
There is a shot. We will have to see it kind of play out.
Think about it. With rates coming down, floating rate debt becomes less expensive. Companies are able to issue new debt, repurchase existing debt that has higher interest rates. You're talking about a setup for so much earnings expansion and margin expansion. Like, that's what would need to happen for this market to go down, is margin compression, and we're not seeing it. We're just not.
No. And there's liquidity to buy things like XRP, which someone asked in the chat. We'll talk more about it later, but they're asking your opinions. I told them Ben Jones, Steve, is very bullish on XRP.
Congratulations, by the way.
Congratulations on your XRP, Steve.
It kills you to say that.
No, I told Steve last night, I was on the phone. I was like, Steve, if it goes to 100, I will be so happy. Like, I want you to win as your friend. Like, you're happy for me. I'm happy for you. But if it goes to 100, like you said a week ago, it would be like a $50 trillion market cap. And we just started laughing because we were like, well, maybe that happened.
Listen, if it goes to 100, I'm going to get a gold chain that says XRP in diamonds.
You might as well get it tatted, bro. I mean, at that point, you're not calling into the show. You're going to be on a fucking your own island, your own luxury cars.
Like, to go to like 300 or 400 for me to get a tattoo of it.
Well, regardless, you get to just wait and see it play out now. Because you got in early, just like a lot of people got in early with Palantir.
Look, there's a lot of people that got in really early with XRP. A lot of people. Don't sleep.
Yeah. All right, Steve. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Are you excited to see us tomorrow to get some lunch?
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, that's why I said you guys should, sneak out.
Yeah, we'll I think we'll be done around 2 to 3, and then it'll be fun to get some steak. And I'll be meeting you for the first time. I think Roy will be meeting you for the first time as well. So It'll be fun. We'll get some selfies, post some pictures. It'll be cool.
Yeah, and then we have some Canadian guy coming too.
Yes, we have a Canadian guy that is coming as well, Mr. Tanner. All right, Steve, appreciate it. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
72.27 tomorrow for Palantir because nobody cares about valuation.
If it actually 72.27, that's going to be pretty.
That's going to be so wild, right?
Then you can actually say, I have a crystal ball, instead of everybody else says, oh, I don't have a crystal ball. You got one.
Yeah, you have one.
No, I have one of those magic 8 balls that you shake up and it says yes or no. That's what I have.
Okay, poor man's crystal ball.
Poor man's crystal ball.
All right, Steve. We'll talk to you tomorrow. See you then.
Later, guys.
Later. Some guy named Tanner. There he is, right there in the chat. There is Tanner. We'll be seeing Tanner tomorrow with Steve and Roy. You know, the one thing I am really grateful for, as men, it's hard to get to make friends, you know, as we get older. And if stocks are the way that we're going to be able to have a relationship with each other, talk and communicate, then that's really cool, in my opinion. You know,
it is. Yeah, this has been a blessing.
It's something we can't take for granted, I think, is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right, folks. Thank you all for being here. 2 guys who bought Palantir at 7 now get to meet in person as Palantir is at 70. I'm going to go take Roy and get some food, hit up some good spots. And yeah, that is pretty much it for us today. No market open or market close tomorrow because I'll be gone the whole day. We will have a market open on Thursday, but tomorrow we'll be gone, but we'll have plenty of pictures on Twitter that we'll be posting. Palantir right here, 70.96 after hours. Robinhood also having a nice day. Tomorrow's going to be big for Robinhood, their first investor day ever. 38.85 after hours, 38.64, up 2.71%, up another 0.5% after hours. NVIDIA right here doing well, 140. Meta at 613, 616 after hours. CRM up 6.78%, and then Palantir right here, $71.13 on the day. I am not streaming on the investor day, but I think Robinhood will be streaming the investor day live. So I won't be streaming it. I don't even think I'm allowed to stream it from inside, but I'm sure they're streaming it inside. So that'll be there as well. Yeah. Claudia, thank you for the $7 super chat. Admit your channel is now a daily watch since canceling MSNBC and CNN on November 6th. Your stock market summary tweets are gold too. Thanks for all you do. Claudia, thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the chat. Thank all 2,000 of you for being here every day, sitting with me and Roy, just talking to normal guys, talking about stocks. And it's been a pretty amazing thing to have this entire community come together.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This has been a blast.
All right, that's it. So 2 last thing, guys. If you are not following Roy, if this was your first time being introduced to him, please make sure to follow him right here, Crossroads on Twitter. By the way, why? I think I asked you this before, but why is it Crossroads?
There's a lot of reasons, but one is I like to buy stocks that are at a crossroads. We're always at a crossroads. There's always decisions set before us. There's a lot longer story to it too that maybe I'll tell you over dinner. But yeah.
Okay, I like it. And Roy's also been doing YouTube. He's on the YouTube grind. He's already passed 1,000 subscribers, so congrats for that. Please make sure to check out his YouTube. If you care about SoFi, Palantir, Robinhood, any of these PayPal macroeconomic events, then his YouTube will have interviews and good stuff on the channel as well. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Buy Roy a beer. I will definitely be buying Roy a beer tonight. Do you drink?
Maybe a root beer.
You drink at all?
No, I don't drink.
Okay, so we'll get him a root beer. There you go. All right, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. We'll see you guys Thursday morning on the Market Open. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.